more of the video, getting it on the road, getting it ready. And as you can see, we got that. Enjoy the video. Well, hi there. Okay, so we're going to do a little side thingy here before we get into the next video, finishing up the Corvette front end, so it'll actually roll on the road. But we're going to see if she'll rock a little bit and move her forward out of the lift bay for a little bit and see what happens. So let's go ahead and see if we can make her just move a little bit, or if things fly apart or whatever what happens here. So let's go ahead and see what goes on. Oh yeah, she rolls. That's cool. All right. So all we wanted to do is just see if she rolls. We're also gonna do a little maintenance on the lift, so that's another reason for it. But coolios. All right, so we're back here again. Okay, so as we get this front package on, we're doing a couple other things too. We've got the master booster on, and if I haven't shown you that, I'll show you that in a minute. But the other thing we had to do is, had to get up in here, and I don't know if you can see it, but this is the proportioning valve for it. Up there is the clutch. Right there, I'm pointing right at it, and then these are the brake lines that come up from the proportioning valve that come down from the master cylinder. And they were interfering with the clutch because of the way that I had to run it right to de-squeak it. See if we can get up there and get a view. I don't know if you can see that it was sitting and it was interfering, so we just clearanced it. And the way that we clearanced it is I just took, hang on one second. This is my big bar that I do tires with. This is what you would normally call a duckbill, right there. So I just reached up with it like this from behind, got in front of that brake line right there, and just pushed on them, just to bend them out so they'll be clearance. So now the clutch can move, the clutch Z-bar can move, and the attachment can move, and not interfere with the brake line. So we got that problem solved. The other thing I see here is when we put the, we had to, if you remember when we did the steering, we had to pull everything apart. If you look in here, I've got a little bit of spline showing on the engagement here. So if anybody knows that that's an issue, let me know. It is pretty far deeply engaged. I mean, it's pretty deep, so it engages at least to about here, almost to where it joints there, but not quite. So but I think the only way we'll be able to fix that if we want to do something is loosen it up, get a bar behind it, see if we can't shimmy it up, and then put the bolts back on and pull everything back together. But it's just, it may just slip, or we may have to loosen a little bit on the shaft connection for the other side of the rag joint so it can even up. I think that's okay though. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So that's what we've done brake wise, and we'll be back with more, so hang on and stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Hubby here with Just About Anything Garage. It is, what is, October 10th or so? And we're on to part 4 of the Corvette drivetrain Get Her Running. And you've seen her in part 3 get all together and run and move. And so what we're doing now is we're waiting for the final parts to come in so that we can get the front end package all done up. And we've done a couple things while we're waiting, and it's my fault we're delayed with it because I ordered late. Anyways, we went ahead and these are going to be replaced. These are the old ones, but we've got the shroud back on. We got to put the water pump on. We've got a fan on order that's coming. We got to do the power steering pump and bracketry for that. And once that's on, this package is ready, is together, and we can go ahead and we can see if she really cruises. But in the meantime, we've been doing a couple different things, and hopefully in editing I'll get them all lined up in the right places because I've been back and forth doing different things. But one of the things that we've been trying to do is we've been trying to troubleshoot the headlight system on the Vette, which, as you know, is a vacuum controlled system, because the engine produces plenty of vacuum, 20 inches of mercury while it's running on it, but they weren't working. So what we've gone and we've tested the components individually. I put vacuum on the front side and the back side of the actuators. We know that they work. And now what I've done is I've rigged it up with a control. I borrowed the dump switch, which is right here for the system, right there to control it, and I've hooked directly to the engine vacuum. And what I'm trying to do is just test the package to make sure that everything is fine there, all the lines don't leak, and everything works and that type of thing, because there's a leak or there's something in the system that's stopping it from work when you go from the headlight controls. And it could be the control switch or anything. Any little leak isn't going to do that. My tank could be leaking. That is that front tube that's down here. I don't know if you see it. Let me go ahead and put a light on for you. Did we get the light? We got the light. That tube right down there is the tank for it. So if there's a leak with that, more than likely what it is some of the hoses are hardened where they connect into it, and they're leaking around it, and it just won't do it. It just won't actuate it when we go ahead and we try it. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to try this, and see what the system does. So let's go ahead and fire the Vette up, get some vacuum, and let's test and see if everything is going to work for us. Go in here and pop this on. Let's turn the gas on for her over here. Go ahead and fire her up. Now we can run it for a short time and use the vacuum from the motor. Okay, so as they see, they're closed. If I pull on the switch here, there we go, they open. If I push it back up, they should close. If I pull on the switch, it should open. Look at that. If I push on it, it should close. All right, so we know that we have vacuum to the headlight system. Let's go ahead and get this thing off. Because we have no cooling system for it, so we only run it for a very short amount of time when we want to do stuff like that. So we know that the front package is working. We know that the relays are working. We know that the actuators are working. We know the lines that go to them are working. So it's something that's coming from the cockpit to the front and into the tank. So that's the next section that we're going to test, and we got to figure out how we're going to test that. I'm not sure. It may just be to pull a vacuum on it and see if we have any leaks or anything like that. But we know the front end works well once it's got enough vacuum to it. So if we can get it so that we're porting vacuum under the control of the switches in there. We could have a bad switch. It could be the light switch that's bad. We know the dump switch isn't because we just used it. So that's in good shape there. We know the front package is all working. Everything is working there. So probably what we'll do next is plug the tank lines, go ahead and put a vacuum pump on it and see if we can't draw the tank down. If we know that the tank's good, then it's got to be a line that's coming, one of two things: a feed line that drives that, which all comes off of this check valve right here. This is the main line that goes back, feeds the tank. This little one goes into the dash, and this is the control light coming back that would plug into where that switch normally did. So we're going to go ahead and get that set up. We'll come back and we'll show you the setup and how we're doing things and where we're at, and see if we can't get this diagnosed so that we at least have some headlights going up. Now, the headlights themselves don't work either. You pull it on, I've got no headlights, so I don't know if there's a fuse issue there, a connection issue, or what. We'll have to troubleshoot the electrical part of it as well. But for right now, let's go ahead and get the vacuum worked out, and we'll see where we are. So hang tight. We'll be right back with some more exciting Corvette Part 4 stuff. All right, we're back on the vacuum stuff again. And this is what we discovered. Running through it, we discovered that all this package works. And we've also discovered that the light switch and the bypass switch also works just fine. What we ran into was the tank for the system, which is a piece of the framework. Down there is tubes. It appears to be clogged somehow. I'm not sure how, because it's got very little vacuum that it ports out those ports, and it's got very little air if you pressurize it to do that. So what we did is, I've got a direct line hooked to the system. I've got this system running back to where it's supposed to, pulling vacuum. Also, we've capped off the line that would generally feed the tank, so it won't do anything. And if we start it up and run it, you will see that when I pull the headlight switch, we will go ahead and get that to go ahead and turn on. So let's go ahead and fire it up and pull on the headlights. You can see the lights flip up and down. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll do that. All right, vacuum, pull the headlights on, up they come. Put the headlights off, down they go. Turn the headlights on, up they come. Turn the headlights off, down they go. So we got that diagnosed. We know what the issue with the problem is there, which is basically that we're not getting any vacuum stored in the tank to go ahead and to power it. So probably what we'll do is we'll look and we'll see if we can't clean the tank out. But if not, we'll just go to Summit or Jegs or something like that. We'll get a vacuum canister that are typically designed to help the boosters when you have a big cam and you've got low vacuum. And we'll mount it somewhere. We'll in here or something. We'll run the vacuum to it. We'll power it off of that canister, and we should be just fine and have headlights that work just dandy. Now we got to do is track down the electrical, because we still don't know why we're not getting any lights coming on when we put it together. So we'll have to go poke around and find that. Anyways, that's the update on the headlights and the vacuum system. We got it going, so we know what to do. We're in good shape. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll be back with some more. Good morning. Well, we're back at it. Let me get my glasses on so I can actually see you guys. There we go. See you guys. I mean, I can see the screen that shows me. Anyways, we went over the vacuum, what we're going to do, what we found out, and how we're going to fix that. But I wanted to just review it one more time and go into detail on how we're going to go ahead and correct it. And then we're going to talk about the AC and heat control, because I made an error earlier. I want to correct the error on that. And then we'll talk about what we might be able to do to get that working. Not that AC is important for it, because we're not going to go ahead and use it initially, but it does control the heating, and we might want to have that on that. So anyways, here's where we're at. Let's pop the light on, okay? So we set this up, like we said, such that we could go and make everything work, and we showed you that everything worked, right? We the switches on the inside had everything set up and feeding them that. So here's what we're going to do. Jegs, Summit, a whole bunch of them have 5x7 vacuum control cylinders, okay? And they have a check valve on them for the input to the feeds, and they have fixed outputs on them. So here's what we're going to do. Down here in this, let me pull this stuff out of the way so you can see a little bit better here, okay? Down there, the big round tube, you can see that the nipples coming off that feed the vacuum that would go into the cylinders. It's clogged, and I can't get it unclogged, and I don't know why it's clogged. Maybe it's rust, maybe an animal got in there late in nest, but it's a sealed, closed system, so it's hard to get in there. And you don't really want to put fluid in it, because you're not going to be able to really get the fluid out to clean it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead to Summit or Jegs or whoever, and we're going to get the 5x7 canister, and what we're going to do is, let's go down and look from the underneath of the Corvette for a minute. Down here. Let's see what we got going. Well, oh, I think we just lost our light.
There it goes, came back on. Anyways, underneath here, you can see it's got these curved bars right here. We're gonna mount the can right up in here. So it shouldn't impede, yeah, the light's going out on us. It shouldn't impede the airflow through the radiator too much because it comes in primarily from here on the upper level and pushes through here, and we got the shroud on that. So what we're gonna do is mount that. Then what we'll do is we'll take, this is the feed line that I have set up for that right there. We'll take that or a longer version of it. We'll go into the check valve on that. We'll come out of that. We'll feed this again to feed these. And then from this end, what we'll do is we'll pull the cap off. We'll run another line up underneath the one that used to come down here. We'll pull it out. We'll come over here and we'll feed directly. We'll pull this check valve out. We'll pull this one off. We'll feed this line right here, which feeds the control systems for that. This is the line that goes originally back. You can see it's got a T here. And what that T for, I believe, is for the charcoal canister for the clean fuel system, which is right here with a very stiff line. So if we can get to that connection, we'll replace it. Otherwise, we'll connect into it. So we'll pick up the control canister and we'll pick up the controls for the lights. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And everything should be kosher. From that point on, we'll have a completed system in there that should work just fine. And as you saw, they come right up and they come right down when they're directed to a strong signal source. So once we get a canister that can hold some vacuum for us and a lot of vacuum to get to the appropriate actuators, we'll be good. All right, now the other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about as we're waiting for parts here, which is primarily why I'm doing this, we're just waiting for the parts to arrive, is, if I can get the door open, there we go. Down here, in this, I have light in here so I can show you guys. Pick this little baby up at Harbor Freight, right? Cheap, gives us light. Down here, if you remember, I had talked about this connector right here, right? This is a little connector. And what that connector is to, it is a vacuum port connector that goes off up here to the actuators for the AC, which are there and in the control box. Okay? And what happens is there's a plate that typically, let's get that back up there so we have some light. There's a plate that sits on the back of that and gives some space. So you can see where there's a hole right here. So it feeds vacuum, and it acts as like a little vacuum manifold is what it does for that, where you feed vacuum in, and then when the actuator needs it, it can draws on it. So what we'll do is we'll find out where the hose, because you know we got broken hoses here, and we got stuff to pull out. So we're gonna, if we can pull these out, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the hoses, we're gonna move it up and put it back in, and then we'll find the way it's supposed to be covered, and plate cover that so it can draw the vacuum that it needs to draw for that. And hopefully, once we do that, we might actually be able to get this thing to work for us once we identify a feed, because I have not been able to identify a feed that comes off and over into the control yet. It shows it coming off of the vacuum canister from up front and feeding the AC system, but it was not connected when I got it. So we may have to track down where that sucker is, and probably it's up underneath the dash, so that'll be really fun. Anyways, but that's where we're at. We've got the headlight system's working. We still got to figure out why we don't have lights on it, though. They're not coming on when they're hooked to the thing. Maybe a fuse somewhere. The light switch seems to work. If I put bulbs in, I can turn some stuff on and off. The dome light started to work, but it won't go off. So, you know, we got lots of switches that we need to go in and clean up and make sure that we have appropriate grounds and make sure that we have fuses for that to all work. But that's where we're at while we're waiting for parts. We are figuring out the vacuum system. We'll get as much to work as we possibly can. Again, we're not going to use the AC because it'll just drain power whenever it comes on. I mean, you don't really need it here in the Northeast. even though it's getting warmer just like it is everywhere else. You can pop the T-tops and have a pleasant day driving. And remember, we're using this as a test platform to see if we can't build a fire breather out of a fairly normal Corvette here. So that's where we're going to go. But having defrosters, having a little bit of heat when it gets chilly might not necessarily be a bad thing. So we'll continue along that pathway. As we get stuff in, we'll let you know. We'll start putting things together on that front end so we can run this sucker, actually, instead of just start it and let it crank for a couple times. I'm trying to get up out of the car here, and I got my foot stuck. So anyways, we'll come back to that. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. Stay tuned. So, hey there, we're back at it. We got the Corvette up in the air, as you can see again. This thing goes up and down about 100 times while we're getting this together. But what you're seeing here is this is braided AN line. It's 5/16. What we did was, while we're waiting on the parts, which we start to get, they're starting to come in, so we'll be doing that there shortly, is we want to get the fuel system set up so that we can pump from it and not use the, pump from itself and not use the backup system. So what we did here, as you can see, is we're running a line now. I got fittings come to fit that because they're larger fittings than what I have to go in, and then we'll run it on up with AN line. It should be a hard line coming off of it, but we're not going to worry about that. We'll use the AN line. The AN line will be just fine. 5/16. And I'm not going to use the AN fittings because I don't have any of the AN fittings. We'll just use hose clamping. But what we did, though, is we wanted to empty the tank because we didn't want to have crap in it, right? So what I did was I took this, which is off of the internet. You can get DeWalt battery connections with a switch on it with a thing. We hooked it to a fuel pump. It's got the inlet filter to it, so we filtered it coming in, and we just pumped it out. And we pumped out about 2 gallons of very yellow varnishy gas out of the tank. But we also, before we totally emptied it, we wrapped it back onto the return line and listened, and we have full flow for that. So what we'll do is when we hook this up is I'm initially going to put in one of the plastic filters so I can see gas come up. We can make sure everything's kosher, and then when we go to get it finalized, we'll go ahead and we'll put one of the metal ones in that is off of a Jeep that's got the return line. So if it builds excess pressure, we'll have it just go through the return line and dump it back into the tank. So that's what we're doing now. We should have the fittings for the fuel pump, so we'll get that set up. And once we got all this set up, we'll show you and hopefully show you it running on its own fuel. We'll dump, 5 gallons in the back and see how everything goes with it. We also got this was a hard one to get, actually, the clutch mounted fan for the Corvette. You'd think that you'd be able to get those pretty readily, but but I did find this one on the marketplace close to my area. Got it shipped to me, so it'll go ahead and it'll button right up onto that. We got the fuel pump, not the fuel pump, I'm sorry, the water pump in. So we've got that already in, and we'll get the water pump stud kit. I think this doesn't have it. I'm waiting on the stud kit, ARP stud kit, to arrive, and then we'll get the water pump on. I got the power steering pump and brackets. All the pulleys have been all shipped, so they'll be coming in. So we should be able to wrap this front end up here very shortly, and we'll get this sucker rolling around on its own, doing everything that it's supposed to be doing. We've talked about the vacuum, how we've chased that down. We still got to chase down some of the lights, stuff is happening there, and chase down the heating and cooling system to the extent that we can make sure that we have heat. We don't care about the AC right at this point. We'll deal with that at a later time once we're done playing with it as a test platform. But we're going to have some fun with it. So stay tuned, and we'll bring you in when we got some more stuff going on. Okay, so we got the fuel pump hooked up here, but here's the yikes moment. I just noticed this as I was going to let it down. Yikes! So we're going to get it down and we're going to reposition it and make sure it's safe for the next time. But project service announcement, check everything so you don't kill yourself doing this stuff. All right, we'll be right back in a second as soon as I get this down and adjusted, and we'll look at the fuel setup. All right, be right back. All right, we'll show you what we got hooked up in a minute. In the meantime, let's put some fresh gas into the tank. Hopefully it won't leak anywhere. It didn't when it was sitting in there before when we pumped it out, so we should be cool. Put a couple gallons in here. See what we get.
I hate these valves because I gotta lift this. That's why my arms are so strong. Oh! Change positions here. There we go. Do. Okay, hopefully that should be enough to go ahead. Nothing running out underneath it, so that's cool. Alright. Brush gas, it's probably going to pump varnish up anyways, but let's go grab the remote starter. I filled the bowls with the life support system, but let's go ahead and hook up our remote. Plug in. Hook it on the power right here. Check it out. Okay. Now, here's our filter. Let's see if we can get any flow to come up on that. And the pump. There's nothing leaking. A little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit in it. We're getting a little bit. I don't know if it's we're gonna the charger's hooked up, so it should be charging it. Let's not leave the remote starter hooked up. And look what I just did, just disconnected it. Okay, cool. Cool. As I'm flashing you guys around nowhere, let me go ahead and put you guys down for a second. We'll switch over to cranking it from the, because it'll start if we do that, because I filled the bowls, like I was telling you, I filled the bowls up, so it'll crank. Pull that off because I just pulled it off. Okay, looks like we're fixing that. Let's put our protective cover back on to make sure you don't short this out anywhere. Hit the battery with a quick zapper. See if it, when it starts, it'll pull up gas out of its own pump, or now it says in and out on that, and I hooked it to the in and out, so hopefully, oh yeah, it seems pumping. Let's do this. Do an engine start. It says an engine start function where it'll hit it with like a 50 amp, or the highest it'll take for 60 seconds to get the battery up. We'll let it do that, and then we'll go and turn it over. It should fire. And hopefully, if running it without being hooked to the gas hasn't destroyed the pump, which is my only concern. we should be able to get some fuel up in, and hopefully it'll run on its own accord. And then we'll clean everything up and shorten everything, but we should be good. We're ready to go. Almost there. 3 seconds left. Beep. Okay. Let's turn on that. That pump. Nothing yet. What's happening is, let me pull you up there. When I had the electric on it, it like really drew. See, you can see it's pulling some up there. There's a little bit in there, not a lot. Let me tighten. I got a leak down here, it looks like. Let's get the light on it. Right there at the, yeah, see it's leaking. It might be pulling some air. It's definitely pulsating. I should have this hooked up correct because it says in and out on it. This is the out and that's the in. So let me tighten up that clamp. Let me put about a gallon in it too, so it may not be priming, it may not be exposed totally. So let's let this cool down a little bit because, as you know, we don't have the front package. We're getting it. It's almost here, and we'll come back once we want to give it another shot. So hang tight. Okay, it looks like it's running on its own power here. Filter's filling up. Can't run it too much longer, but you see it right there. It's not like the electric pump, but it's filling it up. So she's running under her own fuel. Let's get her off because I don't like to run her that long without the next thing. So it looks like we do have it hooked up right because it's filling the filter up. I'm not sure how rapidly it's supposed to fill the filter up, but it's supporting the motor. It's supporting the motor. I'm gonna let that hang out there in space, but it was running and it would have emptied the bowls by now, so cool. All right, so we're gonna clean this up. We're gonna get things tighter in. I'm gonna run it with this filter right here. Why are you not looking at my hand? Oh, because I'm pointing it at me, that's why. Duh. We're gonna run it with that filter for a while so we can monitor it and see what it's going, but then it's gonna go to a metal one. And it's going to be the Jeep style where it has the return line, and we'll run it down there, ouch, warm, to the return on that, and we'll go from there. Let's see what we're at here. So the intake manifold's cool. The exhaust is, of course, hot. What's the head look like? Head's 160 degrees, 158 degrees. Block's 104. 106 on the cover, so we're okay. We'll just let her cool down, and like I said, we've got the water pump is in, gaskets. I'm waiting on the stud kit to mount it, so we'll get this mounted up. We'll get the water pump mounted out. We'll get the fan. We'll get everything pulled together tight here. to make sure that it's, and we may even get some bracketing and bracket stuff down, so it's not in the way, because everything's hanging out loose. But we'll go ahead and we'll get everything tightened down and get this thing running on its own. Get some air in that tire, because even though it needs to be replaced, it will hold air for a little while. And we'll see if she'll move and respond. Once we got it, we got a new upper radiator hoses come in, the lower ones come in. Heater hoses are supposed to be coming, so we should be in good shape here in the next day or so. And see it running around on the driveway anyways. So we'll come back when we got our next steps here and we'll show you. Hang tight. All right, so we're back at it here, okay? And let's just do a real quick review. Seeing how I don't remember what I told you the last time, so the last segment, until I edited it. So we're just gonna kind of pop this in here anyways. So we got the fuel pump hooked up, right? We got a filter in here so we can see it's pumping, it's running on its own, so no big problem. Here we've got the vacuum hoses all set up into here. We got a tank on order, so we're gonna put a new tank in here, and then we're gonna get that all cleaned up. We're also gonna do the charcoal canister for the fuel over there, so we'll be good. And going with that, the other thing we did is we haven't got all the parts in, but we got a lot of them. So we got the water pump in, you can see it here, along with the water pump pulley and the bolt kit for it, and the fan kit. I also got the fan and the clutch. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this water pump all set up here. And what I like to do when I set external parts onto an engine, I need to tighten this down because that's just in there, it's not tight. That's the bypass for the which I could put one in because I have a spot over on that. But anyways, what we've got here is I like to put high-tack Permatex. I've shown you this before. I did it on the intake manifold, right? I like to put a high-tack gasket sealant on it, but I only do it on one side, right? So I'll place the gaskets out of here. I'm gonna place it on, and then we'll clamp it down. I got nice Velcro gaskets for it. It came with their paper gaskets, which are fine. You know, they're okay. They're reasonable quality, but they're not Velcro. Velcro just makes a really good set of gaskets. That's regular, that's Velcro. So, and the reason I don't tack on the engine side is I don't want it to stick. So if I have a problem, I got to pull it off. I don't want to have to do a lot of scraping. It's just a royal pain in the butt on that. I could take this part off, bring it over to the bench and scrape it clean, and it would be fine. I hit it with a little brake cleaner just to make sure that the surfaces are clear. We'll let it tack up. We're going to put these on. We'll go ahead and we'll put it onto here. We'll put the bolts into it. We'll get it bolted up. We'll put the pulley on it, make sure everything lines up. And we'll get the fan on it. We got the shroud in there nice and tight. It's all locked in. Everything's good to go. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Seeing how, you know, I don't have a filmer out here, so it's hard to see. We'll just get it set up. I'm sure you've seen 100 times people putting parts on their cars. We'll show you the finished product, because what we're trying to get to is to the broom stage where we can dry it around, and we're real close. So hang on tight. We'll go ahead. We'll get that all together, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back here for a second. You can see we got most everything kicked up, and if you'll notice, this is turning pretty good, but it's rubbing on occasion. You also notice that, let me turn the light on, so we got some light in there, that we're not all the way up on the bolt yet. And the reason for that is this is kind of a press fit onto the snout for the water pump. So what we're doing here is we're tightening this up until it stops on this bolt, rotating it to the next one, tighten it down. So that, because it's got to be pressed evenly on, we walk it on one side, walk it on the other, walk it on the next bolt, walk it on the next bolt. So you get north, south, east, and west on that. So that's what we're doing with that. And it's almost, you know, lined up here. We're still rubbing in spots, but as we pull it in and we get it to sit and line up, we should clear that. So we're going to go ahead and finish that up. I wanted to show that. You may have to walk it on because the clearance on the snout is kind of a pressed on. So we'll be right back as soon as we finish that. All right, we're back. We got it in. Rotates without hitting. Had to adjust the fan shroud a little bit. Sorry, I was holding you sideways, but we're good. Belt goes on. We got a problem though. You notice we got an alternator decanter. The reason for that is those valve covers are too tall. Remember we had an issue, we were talking in the last one, where we went through several iterations to try and get valve covers here that we liked, that looked good. We wanted Chevy Orange on top of this. So these are too tall. It's going to hit the alternator. Alternator won't fit back in the bracket piece. So we're going to go and order us, after all, a shorty pair with baffles. Just get them, put them on, and we'll be all set and ready to go. So water pump is on, fan is on, everything lines up. The pulleys all are on tight and all line up, so everything's looking good. I'm still waiting on the power steering pump. That should be here any day with the brackets. We put that on, and had the belt for that. I have the upper and lower water radiator hoses to go ahead and put on this. And I'm going to get a new set of heater hoses because those are just old and you know they're crusty, so we'll go ahead and replace them. And then we're in pretty good shape, other than we'd already talked about getting the vacuum canister. We'll order that when we order the valve covers, the new valve covers, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So sit tight, we're almost there, real close. All right guys, catch you in a little bit. All right, we're back. Let's turn light on right from the start. And what we're looking at here is, as soon as I get this camera so it won't go off on you, we've got the water pump on, we've got the water pump pulleys on, we've got the clutch fan shroud and the shroud on, and everything's aligned perfectly. We also have the alternator hooked up. Now, if you remember the last time we talked, we had these orange guys on right here, and they're too tall. They're about, well, they're a ½ inch taller than these. These are the chrome ones that originally came. Remember, we tried to paint it, if you remember, and it got all crinkled on us because it wasn't compatible with the primer I used. Well, I got some stripper. I stripped it off just so we can get it on. We got a PCV valve in here. This hose is a little big, so I got a teeny weeny leak at this end up here where it plugs in, because you can see the idle bounce a little bit when it's on. But this is pressing up against the cover right here. And of course, there's no adjustment plane. Now, the belt I ordered for this was this year car. Remember, this is not the original motor in it. This is a replacement motor. But the original car, 77, but without AC. This came with AC, so it's tight. There's no adjustability here. I had to loosen this bolt on the back, loosen this one, let it roll forward a little bit and come high, and then actually it went low, and then I had to put a bar on it to get it up. It was very close, but still too tight. So, I mean, this will work. It's very stable. It generates power. I have my gen light goes off. Battery voltage goes up to about 14 volts, so we know that we're running. And it turns. There's no flexing or anything. It looks pretty good, but we do want to get it to regular. So what we're going to do is I'm going to order another belt that's with the AC. It'll be way too long, but it'll give us adjustability. We have plenty of adjustability backwards. We just don't have it forward. So I have new valve covers coming. I did order those. They're going to be black crinkle finish with the bow tie emblem on them. And they'll have a press in here for oil fill and stuff, and then on the back over there a PCV valve. So we're only going to have two. This one's extra. This is baffled, so I'm not too worried about it right now with that. But everything runs, everything functions. We need to hook up the hoses. We're going to do that next. Make sure everything's tight. I will probably run it for a while first, see how the temperature is and everything, and if we have to, we might plumb in the bypass. I can put a bypass right in here just to make everything level and kosher and working good. We'll put the heater hose connections in. We'll put the heater hose on with some new heater hose and get everything cleaned up. This I might have to rotate out of the way a little bit here in order to do it. And we're going to swap, of course, this filter out to a metal one. I'm not going to leave that in there, but the pump's working fine. You can see it's all full of gas. It's good. We got the choke hooked up. I'm just going to break the line that I hooked up here. It's onto a choke relay, as you can see right here. You turn it on, it turns that on. I'm going to put this fuse holder in on the choke line, so in case something happens with the choke, if it shorts, we don't start a fire. All right, so we're just about drivable here, so it won't be too much longer. We'll get all this vacuum stuff worked out. This is just all temporary. We'll get some more hose. We'll route everything correctly on it. These do work when the engines are running. Everything's kosher and fine with that. And once we got everything all set up here and ready to rock and roll, we'll show you. We'll bring you back in. I'm going to order also the real remotes and swap this out and put it on a remote, which will mount here probably on. I know this is the heater box, but what we'll do is I'll put it on so it doesn't puncture anything.
so that we have remote power sitting up here so we can do the stuff that we need. And I'll run a separate one with this line so that we can do the activation, so we can do a remote start on that. All right, so that's where we are. That's the update. We'll get that fixed so it's right. In the meantime, it'll work just fine to allow us to run it and make sure the belts are tight. Still waiting on the power steering pump. That should be in, I think, tomorrow, actually. Today is the 18th of October, so it should be in on the 19th, I think they said. We'll get that all mounted up down there and get the power steering put up and get power steering going. So that's where we're at. We'll get back to you as soon as we're ready to fly. All right, so we're up under here, right? And we're trying to get these old heater core hoses off. I had to cut them, and this one is still being stubborn. It's sticking right to it, right? Because what we want to do is we want to put new stuff on here. Since how we got it. We don't want to necessarily wait because we're gonna have to order these. I live in a desert for parts in terms of O'Reilly's and stuff. We have them, but they don't stock specific stuff. So hopefully I can get some generic radiator hose, but if not, we'll order the right ones. And this is being really stubborn. As you can see, it doesn't want to come off of this. It's stuck. You can see where the rubber is really stuck on it. It's being oops, what are you going off for? That light might be dead. Sorry, guys. I had charged it, but we may have used it enough already to do that. Yeah, that's probably what we got. So that's what I'm doing. The other thing is I did a little work here. This is the lower radiator hose coupler, and it was pre-fitting all the hoses, right? So let me show you a couple things over here. We'll rabbit a little bit, squirrel a little bit. This is the upper radiator hose for the Vette that got ordered, and it is not correct. Not even freaking close to being correct. I do have the correct number. I'll show you when we pull it back down. But we put the upper radiator hoses, the old ones, on, but we can't use it because you can't see it here. Not really. Not anywhere. Because I had to cut the ends off to get them off when they were on it. So I was taking this one, which is the lower radiator hose, and I wasn't sure it was the right one, so I was test fitting and got it on, and it's stuck onto the bottom too here. So I had to cut it off with a slit, and I had to cut it short. And what you find out is that this is indeed the right radiator hose. I thought it was wrong, but it is right. This is the one on the bottom here. This a dirty looking one is correct, and I can get that one on. So what we did is I put the old one on, figured out how to get it on. I tried this one even though I cut it a little bit short after doing it, and it's too short. It won't slide on enough. So we're gonna have to order a new lower radiator, but at least this is the right lower radiator hose you can order. I'm gonna order the direct. It's a 70862, I believe, is the upper radiator hose. And we'll look again. We'll look at Riley's and AutoZone and all those type of guys to see if we can't find it. We're still waiting on this pump. I got a little bit of oil leak coming down. You can see it on the block here. I know that light's gone. It's leaking. It's from those valve covers. You put the aluminum. This is why I don't like stamped steel, because they don't seal on the corners. So we'll kind of live with it for just a little while we're getting everything set up, and then we'll go ahead and we got the new ones on order. They should be coming in. We'll put those on. We'll use tie bars to pull them down, and I usually don't Permatex or something like that on the cover side of it, because you want one side to come off. But I probably do that, or some Right Stuff or something, just so it seals on those corners, because they're notorious for leaking. And I'll let you down and show you again here. I already showed you, but the alternator is in place and hooked up. The bracket, I think, is the right bracket. It's in the right place, but I need a little bit longer belt for it. I got the belt that was specified for it for a non-AC. This used to be an AC car, so there may be a difference with that. But I need slightly longer so I can pull it off with the cover. Right now it's hitting the cover
the valve cover, and that's what's keeping it tensioned on 3 points, the 2 points on the bottom and one up on that corner. But we want to get the adjustment bar on there and make it so we can, so when it loosens it up we can adjust it. So we'll get that fixed too. But oh man, we're almost there. We get that power steering pump in, we just put that on. We do the radiator hoses. I'm gonna and I'll update you here when we get it done. We're gonna pull out these heater hoses. We're gonna leave the heater hoses off for now, even though we're gonna order them. This is not gonna run in the winter, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Right now, when we get it out in the spring, we'll do it just to make sure that we have some defroster and stuff. But we'll put bypasses on all that stuff so we can fire this up and get her rocking and rolling and show you guys her running her paces here around the driveway anyways when it gets out there. So hang tight, we'll be back with some more, but I just wanted to show you it's being a pain. So we'll be right back. All right, time for an update. Let's see what we got. We have an upper radiator hose on. We have a lower radiator hose on. Let me go over there and show you. We have a radiator filled with coolant. We have no coolant leaks, although we do have some oil leaks, which are coming from these stupid pans, which I told you I hate because they leak. Anyways, I've already cycled this once for heat, but let's go ahead and fire her up again. Show you guys some statistics, some vitals here on it. Let's turn on the neutral safety, give it a pump. It should be warm, so it should fire right up. There we go. Got the idle set at about 950. See, our temperature gauge is working about 180, 185. I don't know if the fuel works yet, but I bet you it does. Voltage gauge works, showing us charging. We don't know about oil pressure yet because I'm still waiting on that stupid sensor. The brake light could be from the switch. You got to get the everything bled, but seems to be running just fine, other than those oil leaks. Going around with my thermal gun, checking temps. Nothing's really bad. Everything looks good. Running just fine. Now we need the power steering pump. We'll be able to start moving it. I got to set timing on it too. We're going to let it cool down a full cool cycle and then cycle it again, get it hot. We'll make sure that the timing's set correctly. Then we'll go and we'll set the idle mixture screws using the vacuum gauge on it. I'll show you that. And we still got to figure out this alternator because it's pinned up against here. And I'm going to get the bracket for it. See if we can get a longer belt and move it off of it. But that's where we're at. We're that close. Power steering pump. We'll be able to drive her and get her moving. All right? So there's your update. We'll be back in just a little bit with power steering pump and where we are with that. Oh, I might slip an extra one in here, see if we can't track the leaks down, but I'm pretty sure they're coming from the covers. All right, so we'll be right back. All right, so we're underneath. We got it up, obviously, and there's oil all over the place. You can see it running right. I don't know if you can see it, but it's running right there. But if you look, you can see it's leaking right out from underneath that stupid valve cover gasket, running down the engine block and dripping from both sides. It's all here. It's all up there. Yeah. See it all here. Running down from there. You can see it's all originating from higher. And it's running out of the headers a little bit yet. So stupid valve covers. I knew I hated them for a reason. Same over on this side. You see it on the back. I thought maybe it remained sealed, but nope. There's nothing coming from there. It's all coming down off of the starter, off of the block. You trace it all the way back up. Right, you can see it coming right there. Off of that stupid cover gasket. Upsetting. I knew I hated those for a reason. All right, so we got the new ones coming in, so we'll take care of that. And I may use either the right stuff or some Permatex tack to keep it and seal it on the back. Man, it's a pain in the butt. Anyways, no big issues, just those stupid little leaks. Little water leaks you see here aren't from the radiator or from anything. You can See up here, there's no leak in there, and there's nothing from anywhere from it in here or anything. It's from when I filled, but all right. Hey, the little shakedown stuff, right? We're close though. All right, we'll be back. All right, so we're back. How about a little bit of action footage? You know, so we got these valve cover gaskets are leaking like crazy, right? So let's go ahead and I'll show you this side, then I'll do the other side because I got to pull the alternator off over there for that one. But let's go ahead and let's see if we can get this to seal a little bit better and stop dumping all that oil. For one thing's for sure, it's not going to rust. The block isn't going to rust with all the oil that's been pouring out of this thing. But let's go ahead and get this off and see if we can't put some, and what we're going to do is use some of the right stuff on the bottom of the gasket and put it back on and see if we can't get that to seal for us. So go ahead and pop these off quick. Come on. Oh. Not that it's a big deal, other than it makes a mess, and you got to kind of keep your eye on the oil level because there's enough coming out of there that it'll be down a quart fairly quickly. And we don't need that going. And then what we're going to do after we get that fixed is, did I just lose that washer? I sure did. So we're going to need to find that washer, wherever it went, or put a new one on. I like to find it though because I don't want to shorten anything out. Alright, pop that off, get a look at it. They should not be on very, yeah, see they're not stuck to anything because, heck, there's enough oil leaking through the thing. Get the valve cover up and off here. Nice oil flow though. Yeah, see look, we got oil all on the seal and we shouldn't do that. So let's go ahead and wipe that off. Let's turn it over here like this and we'll show you. So we get some of the gray stuff. We may have to let that cork dry out a little bit before we do this. Get that. To seal. See? Oil on that. Now let's go ahead and get that head covered. Take you with me on that one so you can see better. See a little Permatex from the intake get on that and make it sticky, but they got round edges and they're not flat, so get into it. It's leaking on the bottom, the top's pretty dry. So it's coming up and it's leaking, it's seeping right out of there. We got nice flow though on these. May have to do lash setting, but they feel pretty tight. And they're not making any real noise, so should be pretty good. So we got to give this a couple minutes. So got to let that cork dry out a little bit. And then we'll put some gray right stuff on it. Put it back on there, tighten it down, then we'll go and we'll do the other one, all right? So hang on and we'll be right back. I'll show you doing that. All right. So here's what we did. We wiped it down and hit it with a little brake cleaner too to make sure it was oil off. And then what we done is we done primarily down to the corners up. This is on the bottom side right here and around in there. We're going to stop there because I don't have a lot of the right stuff left. I want to make sure I can get the other one done.
the top isn't leaking. It's not leaking out the top. It's spraying the oil. It's coming down. It's pooling at the bottom before it drains back. And that's what it's doing. So we're going to pop these on, right? And see if we can't get this to seal for us and stop that egregious leak on both sides. All right, so let's get you back set up on the tripod. Get you pointing in there. Not that it's, you've probably seen this 100 times, right? Putting on valve covers, no big deal. Oh, and you know what I need to do? What we need to do that is I need to go get another washer for that valve cover. We've done dropped it. Let's grab another one. Make sure we're all set here. All right, now let's grab that valve cover. Put it back on. All right, let's lift you guys up, get you under here. What's going on? Okay, you can move right out of the way. Get you right under here like this. That's the top side, so we're cool. Get you up over that little hump. Get you in here like this. Make sure all the wires are up out of the way. Not going to get caught underneath. Spark plug wires, choke wires, ground wires, all kinds of wires. There we go. Get you out of the way. Down you go. Right on there. Let's get some stuff in here. Top ones are easy, right? Because you can see those holes. You can mush it around and get it to line up right. All right, let's index it a little bit. Make sure that those are tight. Well, not tightened all the way down, but at least, you know, in there so they're not going to fall out if we wiggle the pan, the cover here. Okay, that one's down a little bit. That one's down a little bit. Get the bottoms in. In their way here. Okay, so that hasn't gone yet. It's gonna have to get some manual manipulation here. Make sure we get it in there. Let's get you. Come on, stop being a pain. Get you started. Flat finger here. Come on, get in there. There we go. Lift that pan up just a little bit. Being a pain, let me tell you. Not wanting to. Get in there. Come on. Live now. Oh, of course. Pull it right off. Now you see what happens when you go to do this stuff, right? Nothing cooperates. All right, cooperate that time. Okay, so we got that puck in there. Put
that back. Let's go get the other one. Which has got 100 million wires in the way. Vacuum line, a couple of spark plug wires. Okay, that one's kind of catching a little bit already, so that's cool. Let's see if that'll go in. There we go. Tighten down. So let's give it a little torque because it's on the bottom. So it's good and tight. Finish up this guy. Give it down a little bit. Make sure he's good and tight. Okay. I know, over here. Nice and tight. We'll go back down this one, make sure that one's cinched down there. All right. So everything is done. So I'll just go and do that to the other side. And then what we're going to do, once we give that a little bit of time to dry and set up and hopefully stop the leak, is we're going to fire her up, let her come up to temperature. She cycled once already. Remember, we just did that. We're going to let it cycle again, and then we're going to go and tune it. And the way that we're going to do this when we do the tuning is we'll start it up, we'll let it run for a little bit. Once we've got it nice and warm, we're going to go and we're going to check the timing on it. We'll set that up, see, make sure that the timing is at least close, right? Because a lot of your tuning issues is related to timing versus related to fuel delivery. And you can tell they look the same, but they're discretely different. So we'll do that. We'll get the initial timing set. We'll do that the standard way. We'll pull off the ported. We'll cover the ported one. We'll go ahead and set the initial timing. We'll put it on. We'll check and see what our total timing is when it's warm. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and pull one of the, I think I have one already pulled. Yeah, I got a small one over here. That little small one right in there we'll pull off. We'll have the vacuum line already set up on it. And then we'll set the idle mixture screws. And the idle mixture screws are just setting what your fuel ratio is right on your idle circuit. It's not really there to set what your idle, that's what your curb setting is for, right? So it's set at about 950 right now. We're going to leave it there initially. We'll do one side, maximize vacuum, and so where it's not fluctuating. We'll do the other side, maximize vacuum for it is, and then we'll go back. We'll check to see what our idle is. If it needs to be adjusted, we'll adjust it again. If we do that, then we need to go back and readjust the idle mixture screws for it. And you just keep iterating that around and around and around until everything's leveled out and you don't have to do any more changes with that. And then you've got your idle mixture screw set. You would typically, before that, if you've screwed with the carburetor or it's one that you don't know of, this one's fresh out of the box from Holley, so I know that everything is set primarily where it needs to be. You'll want to go in and set your throttle blades such that you don't uncover more than like a quarter to a third of the transfer slots, right? Because the transfer slots are there to give you, when you're coming off of idle over into the mid-range where it's pulling out of the Venturis and stuff, those slots are there to give you that mid-range crossover. And if you have too much of the blade, too much of the slots already exposed, you're doing that in idle, and adjusting the idle mixture screws won't do anything for you because it's always going to be rich and you won't be able to maximize it. So you'd want to do that as a first step. But I know that this is set because nobody screwed with it. It came set out of the factory. So I know it is. But generally, you check that, you set your idle mixture screws, and if those have been screwed with a lot, turn them all the way in, pull them out 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 turns, and then do your adjustments from there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get that cover on the other side done because I got to take the alternator off on that. We'll get that one all done. We'll let it dry for a little bit, and we'll fire it up, come up to temperature, and we'll start that. And I'll show you what I'm doing when we get to that. And then once that's done, it's set. I get my power steering pump. I get it so that we can drive this sucker around, and we're ready to rock and roll. Well, I should probably put up and bleed brakes too, so we'll probably do that at some point here before we get, if we don't get our pump here soon, which is, I know it's on the way, I've been tracking it, we'll go ahead and get the brakes bled so that we have some foot pedal on that thing. So, all right, we'll be back in just a little bit when we're moving to the next step. All right, see you in a bit. Battery's low. I got a bad bat track. I got a battery that's on the edge. Yeah, see, it dropped. I don't know if you guys can see it or not on this, but it's 12.5 volts. That is not going to fire this. So hang on. We'll be right back. We're going to give it a little charge. All right, let's try this again. It's drawing about 3 amps, so it's on trickle. About 14.1 volts. And on it, let's see if she'll fire up for us now. For that HEI distributor, she does not like to be below about 12.8 volts. Let's see what happens. Might have her a little too advanced here. Let's back her off a little bit. About there. See if that helps. Hard to get. Let's pump that curb idle up just a little bit. Shall we? Half turn. Yeah, let's pull out the remote starter. So we can do it from here and goose her if we have to. Still on? She's still on. All right. A little better. figure out what's on with the timing. It's showing about 30 degrees of advance, but my mark might be way off, so. Check mark. Good tag, good, not a lot of bounce, a little bounce to it. Right degree. Still coming up to temperature. Here's the temperature set on the side. Do on that idle circuit, huh? 15 bucks. There on that side. Pretty close. timing out. pretty good. Here's where we ended up. Running about 980 where I want it. We got about 15 degrees advance at idle. Run your vacuum. Optimize your vacuum setting up. We got crisp throttle response. Oh, it's a little hot. So then the timing retarded a little. We'll find that out when we go to start it. So let's look up the look it back up with the vacuum advance on, see if we jump up. About 30 degrees slow. All right. All right, so where we ended up, we're about 15 degrees of initial timing. That looks pretty good. We had great vacuum. We peaked the vacuums at setting the idle mixture screws, right? So that sets the air ratio on the idle circuit, right? And you set it to maximize vacuum. It's up to temp. She's running about 180 in temp. She got about, like we said, 15 degrees of advance. I'm going to tighten that down. We're going to let her cool down a full cycle again, and then we're going to see if she starts. She should start fairly easily. We'll find out if we're doing that. She's idling at about 980. I want her right around 980, 950, so we can play with that with a little bit and see where we get. Let's 14 volts. Got the charger on it. That is working, but we may have a parasitic loss in here somewhere. Anyways, all right. So hang tight, guys. We'll be back with the final story here. Right, been a couple hours. Let's go ahead. It's a little warm, but we'll check and see what a warm start looks like. And then tomorrow morning, once it's gotten chilly in here, we'll check cold start on this. All right, so here we are in the cockpit. Flip up and turn on the neutral. So the car knows that it's okay. Give it a pump or two. Idle right around 800, 900. Let her warm up a little bit. Lights went off. I don't see any dash lights. Headlights pop up. Headlights go down. Battery's charging. Still about 100 degrees. Give you some light. There you go. And now you see the dash, but it's about 100 for water temp. Looks like that fuel gauge might be working too. Still waiting on the oil sender so I can get the oil pressure going. Okay, she seems to be doing all right. The only thing I do is try dead ass cold start. Pedal goes to the floor. No Jen's look. Why is the Jen swinging? Yeah, we may not have a super good. See that Jen light's blinking. Look at the battery voltage jumping. You may want to swap that alternator out. That's kind of interesting. Window. Oh, look, the window's working. No, nope, not quite. It's stuck. Have to work on that. Above this side. Now that one's still sticking. Alright. Looking pretty good though. Okay, so we're back, and it's been a couple of beautiful days here in Agawam. I mean, it's gorgeous out here. Look at this. Blue skies, 82 degrees, low 80s, high 70s, but we're gonna cool down. Anyways, we're still waiting on that power steering pump to come in. Like we just said, we got this all tuned up. I cold started it this morning, and it fired right up. It was looking good. The other thing I wanted to do was I popped the number 1 plug wire off and popped the plug out, and I was rechecking to see where my marks lined up on the pointer and the harmonic balancer, because this thing wants to have more timing, which is fine. If it wants more timing, it can have more timing. That's not an issue. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like off on my marks, because it was telling me it was like, you know, 25 degrees initial timing, that it really wants to have the run well. And it's not. It's right on. When I popped it around, got to the compression point, checked on that mark, and it was lined up right, I mean, within a mark or so forward or back of that. So it's in pretty good shape. But anyway, see how we're waiting on that power steering pump, and I checked on it. It's supposed to ship today, actually. It was a kit with the bracketed stuff coming out of Corvette Central, and so it's got us hung up. So we decided what we do is we go ahead and bleed some brakes here, or try and bleed some brakes here. So first thing I had to do, of course, is get everything popped off and cleaned up. And I know this looks rusty, but it'll all smooth out. There's no ridges or anything. I'll hit it with a wire wheel just to clean it up a little bit as best as I can. And try not to pull these caliper parts if we don't have to. We may have to, we don't know. But the first thing I had to do is get the bleeders broke free, right? So we have bleeders on the front and on the back right here of the Corvette. And to do that, I have a couple of techniques I do. First thing that I would recommend, and of course that wrench is all the way over here. Let me grab it by pointing at that. Is don't try and use a regular wrench, right? Use a socket. I'm using a 1/4-inch drive socket. It's 5/16 for the bleeders, so that you compass on all the flats at the surface of the bleeder to do that. And they're going to be tight. They're going to be locked up. So the way that I handle that is I hit it with a little bit of PB Blaster in there. Let it sit and soak for a little bit on one of them. Then I take a little body hammer that I have, and I tap like this to get it started and try it. If it doesn't break free, we break out the heat, right? And I don't use my big cutting torch. I just use a little butane soldering torch for like copper pipes and stuff, right? And I just heat it here. Just get it warm. Now you gotta be careful, because remember there's a plastic seal in that caliper. You try not to melt it if you want to use it. And you heat it for a little bit and you get it hot. You tap it again. for some more to get it to break free. You put your little breaker bar with your 5/16 on, you try and get it down. If it doesn't, tap it with the hammer. If it doesn't go down, hit it again with the heat, tap it a couple more times. And then this time, first thing I do is I try to tighten it just a little. Because what that does is if you have put a little stress on it to come down, it'll break that bond. And so you put up on it, and you go down, and it moves a little bit. Hit it with a little more sauce. Go back and forth. It gets a little bit more. Push it down some more. Get a little bit more. Push it down some more. Put some more stuff in it. Down some more. And you just keep doing it until finally it will break free. And it did on both the front and the back using that method. So we do that now. So, you know, I have my my single person bleeder kit set up. And basically it's just a hose that goes into brake fluid down there. Connected to the bleeder. Open the bleeder up. And pump and pump and pump and pump. And try and pump some out and trying to pump some back to get the air out. But what I was running into is, as I'm pumping that, let me get the light off here because you don't need it to see me. The master cylinder is pumping. I can see that it's pumping, right? And this is the front reservoir. The front reservoir is going down. The back reservoir really is not going down. And I got bubbles coming up every time I release. So pump, hold the pedal, release it, and you got liquid, not bubbles, but liquids piling up. Pump, hold it. Liquids come up when you release the pedal. Okay, so there's a blockage in the master, somewhere between the master cylinder and the back. And it could be a couple of things. Seeing how that's open there, the plastic lines on this, the rubber lines, go from the clip right in front of the wheel. See this clip right here? There's a rubber line that's right from, it goes from the frame to here, and it's pretty flexible. It's not too bad. You can see it down here. Let's turn the light on again. See it right there. It's not in bad shape, but what it can do is swell inside. That could be the issue. But I rebuilt that master cylinder. It was leaking when I initially took it off and put a new vacuum booster on it when we were changing the pedals out. So I pulled it off, I cleaned it up, you know, I honed the cylinder a little bit, put it all back together and pumped it up, and it was pumping. I mean, it bench bled, but under pressure, I'm not sure that it's working correctly. So I'm going to think about this a little bit. It's not going to hurt it to put a new master cylinder on it, and see what happens. And if it goes ahead and it then pumps, we know that that's a problem. If not, the next thing would be the rubber lines to replace those. I mean, the steel lines are holding. There's no leaks anywhere on the chassis or anything. It hasn't blown out a line or anything. So we'll do that. So probably what we'll do is we'll order a master and the two rubber lines that go to the back, and maybe just switch them all out and give it a shot and see what happens, and see if we can't get these brakes to bleed. I will stop at this point, close this up, close this caliper up, and we'll turn our attentions to the front brakes, see if the fronts will bleed with that, and we'll go from there. All right, so that's a quick update on where we're at while we're waiting for that power steering pump to go. Motor is pretty much set in terms of running and initial carburetor setup. We really can't tune it until we run it for a while, right, to see how it's performing. Is check the plugs, see what the plugs look like, maybe put an AF meter on it and see what we got, because it may need some jetting up, it may need some jetting down, you don't know. It's fresh out of the box. Transfer slot space was set right. We went and we adjusted the idle mixture to get vacuum of right around 20, consistent 20 on each side, and that worked well, and get the idle set to about it. The spec for the Corvette engines is 700 RPM. I like to have it a little higher, about 800 or so. And we're right on target with that, and the cold start's just really good. So that's ready to go. Once we get the pump and we get a little bit of brake in this thing, we can drive this puppy around, and that'd be really cool. So hang in there. We got a couple more coming at you, and we'll let you know how the brakes turn out here real soon. All right, be back. All right, so we threw the back tire back on because that sucker wasn't bleeding. As we showed you, the master cylinder was, you know, bubbling stuff up out of the top of it while we were doing it. And so we decided to come down and see if we could bleed the front here. And what we found out is this broke pretty well. It didn't break off, you know, it broke free, so we could open it up. But what we had, what we experienced in the back, we're experiencing in the front too. I'd go to pump it up. We're using my single man thing, and it wasn't pumping or doing anything. You'd pump it, and it would pump up through the master cylinder. So I'm pretty sure the master cylinder is bad, or we have blockage in the lines. Either one. Anyway, we've ordered a new master cylinder and new rubber lines for this. I know that these cylinders are working because if let me set you up on take off the bottom piece here. I'm going to set you up on a little tripod and show you something. It's a little project service announcement, I guess. That way that you can test to see if your calipers are working okay for you. And the way that you can do that is, I had this compressor hose here that I was using to blow stuff off and clean it up. And since I had that out, make sure that you're seeing that. Okay, get you over here like that. I can blow in the bleeder valve and put some pressure on the cylinders and see if the cylinder squeezed the wheel. And we were doing that. So when you're under there and you're braking, if you hit like something like that, you can go ahead and you can check it out. Let's just crack this bleeder valve, make sure it's nice and open. Okay, like that. And we can turn this. It's turning just fine. Turn it with one hand even. And now let's go ahead and take compressor hose. Go ahead and put a little pressure on that. Okay, I can't turn it. Okay, so it's making the calipers expand. See, turning there. Let's go ahead and it stops it right like that. So you can go ahead and you can pressurize. You can see if your calipers are stuck or not. And in this case, the calipers are most definitely not stuck. They're working just dandy sandy with that. So once the parts come in, and I got them from Rock Auto, they've already shipped. They should be here. Let's see, today's the 24th or so. It's a Friday, so they'll be in I think tomorrow or Sunday. We'll go ahead and we'll swap out the master because I'm pretty sure that's what the problem is. Could be the rubber hoses because they swell inside, and we'll switch those and we'll see if we can get these suckers to bleed front and back. And when we do that, we may just pop the calipers off, clean everything up. It's got plenty of pad, as you can see, on the front and the back, so they're just rusty and crusty. So, and of course here we're a little rusted, but that'll shine them right up once you get rolling on it, and that's what we're trying to do here. We will pop these caps. We'll check the bearings to make sure that they're well greased. And here, we could probably do that on the rear when we do that too, because of the way that's set up. They have bearings very similar to these spindles because they got the mini shafts that drive it. So that's where we're currently at, and we'll update you again when we're there. We're still waiting on that stupid power steering pump, which was back ordered. It should be shipping today, but we'll go check it and we'll see if it's going to do that, and we'll update you on it. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, so as we were telling you, we're working on the brakes, right? We're trying to troubleshoot these, and the ones, well, I'm up front now, so let's do those first before I do a squirrel. And we broke the bleeders free, right? And we're trying to see if it'll come out. Now, I'm not sure the master was working, so we got a new master. That one's on. It's filled up. We pumped it again. We're still not getting anything out. So what I decided to do was get underneath here and take a look at the proportioning valve to make sure that we have fluid coming out. And I did. I cracked this line. I cracked this line. I cracked this line. I've got brake fluid that's dripping out of that. So we got fluid coming out of the master going to the proportioning valve right here. And it's heading towards the back and it's heading towards the front. So... and obviously there's no brakes in the line, or it would have just pumped free, right? But it didn't do that. So what I'm suspecting here is it's the plastic lines that they're swollen up and they're not allowing liquid to go in or come back. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this back down, and we're gonna go ahead and pull the, where are we? Pull the rubber lines off, put the new rubber lines, because I got them all, they came in with the master. We'll put all new rubber lines on, and we'll see if we can make it bleed. If we cracked, we'll crack it from here first, off of the wheel part first, because it'll be easier to do that. Those have a tendency to break up. We'll probably want to heat them, but we'll hit it here on this big side. I've been soaking it with some blaster, so hopefully it'll crack free. If it does, we'll see if there's any fluid dripping out of that, because then maybe what it's pointing to is these. But if you're in the last segment here, we energize this with air, and it, it's moving in and out. We know that. So we know that the cylinders aren't locked up, at least one set on the back anyways. But we'll go ahead and we'll continue to troubleshoot that. Just a quick update on that. So we can see if we can get this thing to stop when we get this thing to move here. And we'll go from there. So let's pop that off and see what happens. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back up in the air, tireless car. As you can see on the floor, there's an old rubber brake cable. They're on here. Let's turn the light on so you guys can see as usual. They're all on. There's the front ones. A little bit of leaking going on there. I have to check, make sure that's still tight. I think that was from overrun when I was doing it, because as I was pulling these off, there's that one on that side, they all were leaking out of the fittings, because we were getting liquid all the way over to all the fittings, and they were just not getting through the rubber hoses like we thought. You see the mess I have on the floor here. That's because, again, because right there, leaking. And you got the rubber hose right there. Some of it's dripping down from doing the leaking there. Hi there. And had to use a torch on this one. This is my gas tank, so I had to make sure the torch flame. This is my gas tank, and make sure the torch flame was pointing at that. So just be cautious when you guys are doing this, to make sure. And I'll go and I'll retighten everything again. That one too. There's that other back one right there. Made a mess. And there's that cable right up there on. So now we got all the rubber cables to it. We've just got to, there's that one there. They all came off. They took a little heat on most cases to get them off, but they're all off. They're all in fairly decent shape. And so I got to work on these and get these bleeders to break free. But that passenger side wheel, the in the back, the front drivers, and this front one. Have I broken this one free yet? I don't think so. No, this one's still got to be broken free here, but we've got at least two of them on that side all broken free, and we'll just make sure everything's tight and ready to go. Hit everything with a little brake cleaner to make sure it's good and clean and it doesn't decay anything. And I get brake cleaner. I use the CRC brake clean, and I actually buy it by the case. When I get down to half a case, I go ahead and I order up a new one. But that's where we're at. Wheels are off. Those are all replaced. We've got fluid at least to the rubber hoses. We'll go ahead and we'll crack these and see if we can't get some bleeding going on through the bleeders and into the calipers, and then we'll update you, because you've probably seen brake jobs 100 times. So no big deal with that. We'll be back shortly. Hang tight. Okay, so got this bleeder brake free. We've got the two bleeders over here. Well, the one bleeder on the front that broke free. We've got the two bleeders in the back that broke free, the front and the back. And we got this front bleeder to break free. And then we had a whole crap moment, because as you look down here, you'll notice there's no bleeder sticking out. The reason there's no bleeder sticking out is we had a whole crap moment, and there's the top of the bleeder. It broke off on us. Now, it's down all the way tight, so it's not going to leak. This is a double bleeding system, and there's a tube that transports to get fluid over the here. So when we bleed this one, we'll open this up and we'll just have to pump the living crap out of it and hopefully get everything out, so we don't have to worry too much about that bleeder right now. And then when we go to do the, when we do suspension upgrades, we'll just put a new caliper on it, because it'll be due about then, or we'll get an easy out and try and turn that sucker out if we have a problem. But right now we're just not going to worry about it. It is broke off closed, so that's where we're at. So we got to go ahead and bleed these brakes, and we'll see where we get with that, and then we'll be back to you guys. All right, we're back, and as you can hear, she's running. As you can also see, she's backwards in the shop without the lift on. The reason for that is we got all the brakes bled. They're not bad. I just fired her up. That's why she's on high idle. If she's running, we still need a power steering pump, but we're not going to wait for that to take her for a cruise. See if she'll not stall. Oh, she's going to stall. Idle's a little low off of high idle. Let's go fire her up again, and actually let's turn her off real quick just so we don't burn anything up. Let's give that idle just a like a little half tweak. It's like a quarter turn or something, just to kick it up, the curb idle up a little bit. I redid the timing on her. I bumped her up a little because she definitely wanted to have more timing. She ran, but was getting a little popping out of her, so like a cylinder wasn't firing fully or something like that, so we gave her a little bit more advance. Let's see if she'll come to life here. Again. Idle's creeping down a little. All right. Take her for a ride. I'm gonna put you guys flat right here. Well, maybe not right there. Well, you know what? If I take off the back, there we go. Let's take you guys off of the handle. Sorry. I do have a car kit, but I haven't opened it up yet. Set you guys here. Give you a front eye view. See if she'll rock and roll. Got my boots on. Let's see. Oh yeah, baby. She got some gumption. Oh, go around and take her back in. Brakes are working, although they're a little soft. Alright, we got a little tweaking to do. But other than that, she's like rock and roll city. All right, so the idle's up a little high. We got to tweak her a little bit, but she's running. She's got plenty of voltage. She's coming up on temperature. She's good, so hey, we did it. She's rolling. She's driving under her own power and all that type of good stuff. So we're going to pronounce this video as done, because what our goal was here was to get her to run and to drive on her own. before the snow flies and snow as flies. Now we can start tweaking her and making her really reliable. And that's what the next set of stuff will be. So we're going to end this one here. Hey, we want to thank you guys for watching the video. We really appreciate it for you guys sticking through the entire series to get that new transmission in, get everything on, and get her rocking and rolling. And we'll give you some candy when we go to head to drive her and get her ready to go. We'll have that ready by spring because we'll work on her a little bit during the winter. We are going to focus on the C30 for a little bit, but we'll be there. So thanks a lot. Do all that jazz for me. I really appreciate it. Helps us grow the channel. And for you, those of you who don't know what all that jazz is, that's that subscribe, like, share, and comment stuff. We really like your comments. If you want to see something put on this thing, let me know, and we'll work it into the stuff. So again, thank you guys, and stay tuned. We're going to have more exciting stuff on Just About Anything Garage.